If you ever wondered how much of Vladimir Putin's carefully polished family mythology is true, well, the cracks in that story start long before he was born. And they begin with a tragic, almost unknown episode from his mother's youth. According to the investigative book The Tsar himself, Maria Ivanovna, Putin's mother, lost an eye as a teenager. The story is grim. Around 1928, in the Tver region, 17-year-old Maria invited her future husband, Vladimir Spiridonovich, to her home. But he arrived with a group of friends. When Maria tried to keep them out, the boys started breaking down the gate with pitchforks. One of them hit her in the face so severely that doctors had to remove her eye. Her mother threatened to take Spiridonovich to court unless he married Maria, and that's exactly what happened. The couple moved to Leningrad, where he worked at a factory. In the few surviving photographs, Maria is often turned slightly to the side, almost as if she's still hiding the injury that shaped the rest of her life. None of this lines up with Putin's own glowing descriptions of his father. "I never saw him drunk, and I never heard him utter a single rude word." The official version is clean, modest, and heroic. The real version, like so much else, is far more complicated. The future president's parents married in the early 1930s and settled in Leningrad. Before World War II, they lived in Peterhof and even felt relatively comfortable. Spiridonovich served in the Navy as a submariner and later worked at a factory. Their first child lived just 3 months. Their second son, Victor, died during the siege of Leningrad after being taken to an orphanage for evacuation. The parents were never told where he was buried. Vladimir Putin was born only after the war, when both parents were already over 40. By then, their life had been reduced to a single 20-meter room in a communal apartment, the famous Leningrad Well Yards. Maria Ivanovna, despite her disability, worked endlessly, cleaning jobs, bakery work, even washing lab equipment. She survived the siege of Leningrad and was awarded the Medal for the Defense of Leningrad. Those who knew her remembered her as kind, gentle, and exhausted, a woman with little education who worked non-stop to raise her last surviving child. In the early 1970s, she won a Zaporozhets 966 in the lottery and gifted it to young Vladimir, a status symbol at the time. And according to eyewitnesses, that lucky win helped him enter social circles otherwise closed to kids from communal apartments. Those connections later played a role in his career. So while Putin presents his parents as symbols of silent dignity and ideal Soviet modesty, the deeper story is messy. A forced marriage, poverty, tragic losses, wartime trauma, and a carefully curated image designed to look cleaner than reality ever was. And if this is the kind of truth Putin spent decades burying about his own family, imagine what he's kept hidden about everyone around him. Which brings us to the next question everyone keeps asking. What does Putin really have on Trump? Donald Trump's unusually friendly attitude toward Russian President Vladimir Putin has always raised eyebrows.
I speak to him a lot.
I mean, sure, world leaders sometimes get along, but this? Many believe Putin might have some compromising information on Trump. And given Putin's background as a former KGB officer, it's not exactly far-fetched to imagine he could have some, let's just say, unflattering files tucked away. So what could this dirt possibly be? Well, let's explore some of the most talked about theories. Roman Bezsmertny, a political observer, shared a blunt theory that Trump may be on the hook with Moscow, controlled by Putin. According to him, certain political moves, like the idea of a so-called peace memorandum between Ukraine and Russia, are nothing more than delaying tactics, giving the Kremlin time while pretending to aim for peace. In his view, Trump should understand this. But if Trump's behavior seems off in this context, Bezsmertny suggests it might be because someone in Moscow is keeping a tight grip.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
And here's where it gets even more eyebrow-raising. Bezsmertny pointed out the infamous honey trap cases in London, where women were allegedly planted in high-profile men's lives, followed by blackmail or worse. He referenced how NBC once showed Trump at Moscow beauty pageants, surrounded by glamorous women.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the... You can do anything.
His take? That could have been a very deliberate, signal, the kind that says, we have material and we can use it. Subtle? Not really. Of course, another widely discussed theory is the one we all heard during and after the 2016 US election. Russian assistance in Trump's political rise.
Я пользуюсь случаем, хочу поздравить его с избранием на пост президента.
Two recent books revisit this. Interference by 3 of Robert Mueller's former deputies. Mueller, being the former special counsel who led the Trump-Russia investigation, gives an inside look at the probe, detailing repeated contacts with Russian operatives and Trump's many attempts to block it, including written answers full of, "I do not recall." They avoided subpoenaing him, leaving key financial questions unanswered.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you?
but when
Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with them.
Unredacted by Christopher Steele, a former British spy, takes a bolder approach. He suggests there may have been compromising material from Trump's 2013 trip to Moscow and possible secret meetings between his associates and Russian agents. In his book, Steele also warns the Kremlin is still trying to sway US politics today.
Yesterday, reporters asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, "Oh, that's such a terrible thing to say."
And then there's the most sensational theory of them all, Agent Krasnov. Former KGB officer Alnur Musayev once claimed that Trump was recruited by the KGB during a 1987 trip to Moscow at age 40 and given the code name Krasnov. Now, Krasnov is a pretty common Russian surname, but it comes from Krasny, meaning red, which, given the Soviet era, has its own symbolism.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. Well, please, just disregard these issues and don't think about this anymore again.
This isn't the first time the claims surfaced. In fact, American journalist Craig Unger explored it in his book, American Compromat. His source, former KGB agent Yuri Shvets, said Trump had been on their radar since at least 1980, when he bought hundreds of televisions from a store owned by a Soviet emigre, a business Shvets claims was actually a KGB front. By 1987, Shvets says, the KGB made their move.
I say it's better to get along with Russia than not.
When Trump came back from that trip, he suddenly bought full-page ads in major US newspapers criticizing American foreign policy, to the tune of nearly $95,000.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share.
He also floated the idea of opening a Trump Tower in Moscow.
You could do a better job at negotiating an arms control agreement with the Soviets than some of these professionals who've been trying to do it for years.
I didn't say me, Mike. I said somebody has to do it. If it were me, that'd be fine. I could do it.
And that's when he started presenting himself less as a flashy businessman and more as a foreign policy commentator.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life.
Of course, the 2019 Mueller report did examine his ties to Russia and found links between the Russian government and Trump's campaign, but said it couldn't establish that there was a coordinated conspiracy. Trump's response to all of this? In 2019, when asked if he worked for Russia, he called it a big, fat hoax and said it was disgraceful to even raise the question.
It was a disgrace to the FBI. It was a disgrace to our country. And you would say that was a total witch hunt.
So, after hearing all these theories, from political strings to business motives, election interference, and even Agent Krasnov, which one sounds the most believable to you?